She's also channeling Sean Connery in that really awful movie Zardoz. Hi there, my name is Tessa, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the looks at weekend one of this year's Coachella. Over 100,000 people attend this music festival every single year, so obviously I can't talk about everybody, so I'm going to try to focus mainly on celebrities and more mainstream influencers. It should go without saying, but this is my opinion, and it's totally fine if we disagree. It's really not that serious. I'm gonna start off with KATSEYE. Since Manon left, I feel like they've been trying really hard to turn around the negative press. And although I do personally think that she brought something special to the lineup, Coachella did at least prove that they can function as a quintet. I like the cotton candy burlesque vibes of their performance outfits. It kind of reminds me of what the Pussycat Dolls would have worn back in the day. My favorite is probably Laura's, followed by Sophia's, and I think Yunche's is probably my least favorite, mainly because she's the only one in a skirt instead of briefs, but I think that might be because she's the youngest, so they try to keep her a little bit more covered up. But either way, it sticks out in the lineup, and I also feel like the color palette doesn't really go with the rest of her outfit. Next is Slayyyter. Supposedly, she made this outfit right before Coachella, and if true, I've gotta give her props because it looks good. It's very sexy 2000s country pop star, like the kind of thing Jessica Simpson or Miley Cyrus would have worn. I love how the accessories tie the look together, like the trucker hat, the Marlboro Reds, and the bedazzled bandana. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't really see how this ties into her actual sound. Like, it isn't really trashy enough to be as subversive as she's aiming for, and it honestly just makes me expect something like Party in the USA. Next is Sombr. It's nice to see that he's moving away from the Harry Styles cosplay. I think that this would be a decent look for an ordinary performance. Like, the silhouette looks good on him, but all black doesn't really make a statement at Coachella. Instead of the lace top, I think a graphic tee would have added some much needed contrast and color. Next is PinkPantheress. I feel like she's one of the few pop stars who actually understands the difference between early and late 2000s aesthetics, and I love how she leans into the trends from that era, like the ballet flats, the tights. She had a couple of different looks during her set, all with a very British color palette, and I really love the transition from bloke to sexy to girly. It's really great storytelling that's just as fun as it is on brand. I just would have loved to see a headband or a fedora or something just to really push it over the edge. Next is Lizzo. This is terrible. Not just the concept, but the actual construction. The cups are way too small to properly support her breasts, and I actually think that partway through her performance, the shorts actually started to rip. And an outfit that doesn't break when you're on stage is kind of the bare minimum. I don't know why this is so terrible when the outfits that she wore to the actual festival were pretty cute. Like, shouldn't the performance be the most important time to serve a good look? Next is Laufey. She often dresses in this sort of cutesy, roughly hyper-feminine style, which definitely makes sense considering the direction of her music, but I feel like it doesn't look as good as I want it to. For example, here they're clearly trying to go in this sort of cheeky children's dance recital direction, but they didn't push the imagery hard enough, so she kind of just looks like an extra in her own production. I feel like a poofier skirt, a tacky tiara, and some cheesy costume jewelry would have felt like a more complete concept. Next is Jhene Aiko. I think that this is a solid choice for a guest performance outfit. I like the mix of the masculine and the feminine. I would definitely wear that top myself. And I like how the color palette feels balanced throughout the outfit. I just wish that she had chosen some blingier jewelry. Next is FKA Twigs. As a surprise to absolutely no one, I loved everything that Twigs wore during her set. It was very her in that sort of sexy medieval alien kind of way. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but neither is her music, so it does what it needs to do. My only note is that I do wish that she would play around with more color. All of these neutrals make it kind of tough to pop, especially in a dark, dusty desert. Next is Addison Rae. Tutus are a staple of Addison's current music era, so I'm not really surprised that they brought them to Coachella. I actually like the dress. The bodice has some interesting details to it, and I feel like it leans into that sort of kitschy 2000s circus vibes that she's going for. The second look, I'm not sold on though. Don't get me wrong, she looks fantastic, but it's very Britney Spears at the 2007 VMAs, and I just feel like at this point in Addison's career, they should really be trying to form her own identity and aesthetic. She's also channeling Sean Connery in that really awful movie Zardoz, but at least they didn't give her a braid. Next is Becky G. She was a busy girl this weekend. Her onstage look was excellent, being just loud enough to draw attention, but not so crazy that she was an eyesore during someone else's set. The silhouette reminds me of the types of outfits Selena used to wear, but with the crochet details and the ruffles, it still feels like its own distinct look. And I could definitely see this inspiring some people come the summertime. As for her actual festival looks, they don't read as very Coachella to me. More like what someone would wear in New York in the middle of August or something, especially with the Tims. I just feel like there needed to be different accessories to give this a bit of California edge. Next is Ethel Cain. Not the most exciting look, but it ties in nicely with the sort of haunted marsh girl vibes of the performance. I just kind of wish that she hadn't worn anything under the overalls because they're cool enough to be the whole outfit, and I do really like the Dior hardware. Next is Camila Cabello. Her onstage outfit reminds me a lot of what she was wearing during her and Shawn Mendes' Senorita era, and honestly, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought that this was a photo from back then. So I think that's a good testament to the longevity and timelessness of this sort of outfit. Some might say that it would have been too much, but I think a big ol' flower in her ear would have been a nice cherry on top of this very sexy sundae. She also walked around the festival a bit, and am I just imagining it? Or did Olivia Rodrigo wear a very similar dress somewhat recently? Either way, I'm a fan. It's simple, but it looks good on her. Next is Grimes. Usually she goes in more of a quirky, whimsical femme direction, but this feels more Miami Vice, but in the tamest of ways. Honestly, it kind of feels like something that Miley Cyrus would wear when she's not really trying. So safe to say, I'm not really impressed. Next is Sabrina Carpenter. They were really focused on the storytelling during her performance, so there was a lot of variation to her outfits, from 1960s mod to 1970s glam rock to 1980s Madonna. Although I was really impressed by the production value, I've gotta admit, I didn't really love the outfits. They just feel like weaker versions of stuff that she's already done. I know that she's getting ready to enter a new music era, so they're testing out new aesthetics, but I'm just not sold on it yet. But maybe that's because Short and Sweet felt so thought out that it's kind of tough to beat. Next is Justin Bieber. I never had Bieber fever, so my expectations for Justin's performance weren't exactly high, and I just think it's really funny comparing his set to Sabrina's because they're just very different. I knew that he wasn't going to pull out the purple high tops, but I just wish that he'd done something referential because it definitely was a very iconic moment in pop culture history. But instead, we just got the baggy jorts and hoodies that he wears every time that he takes Haley out to dinner. I just think it's a really great example of how much less male artists have to do compared to their female counterparts. Next is Karol G. As the first Latin woman to headline Coachella, I feel like her entire set was just a love letter to her culture. The gold look was very beachy bombshell, but the real standout was her take on a charro suit, which is traditionally worn by mariachi bands. The colors were clearly inspired by her home country's flag, and it's just so vibrant and fun. And I really like the modern touches of the tassel skirt and the corset waist. I don't know if she wears stuff like this during her usual performances, but she absolutely should because it really feels unique. Next is Chappell Roan. Something about this is very Florence Welch to me, and I would actually die if they ever collabed. I like the vest, I like the skirt. It's the type of thing that I would wear to Coachella if it weren't for the fact that I hate crowds, and by the end of the day, I would either be knocked out or I would have knocked someone else out. My only thing with this look is that I feel like a weird little hat would have been the perfect addition, but maybe that would have been too much considering Chappell likes to kind of fly under the radar when she's off duty, although she's way too recognizable at this point for that to even work. Next is Teyana Taylor. One of the days she went in this more avant-garde direction, and I think it was a really smart decision to center the entire outfit around those absolutely stunning Schiaparelli sunglasses. I love the chrome accessories. I think the netted crochet is perfectly summery. It's just a great elevated take on festival fashion. Her other look went in the other direction, with this sort of casual, sporty vibe, and her body is definitely part of the outfit. Next is Lisa. This is a quintessential Coachella look, to the point that it looks like something H&M would have sold in a festival collection back in 2015. It's cute, but not super memorable. I think a fun hairstyle and some bolder jewelry would have made it just a bit more interesting. Next is Northwest. I know some people are probably wondering why a 12-year-old is at Coachella in the first place, but considering who her parents are, is it really that surprising that she's at one of the biggest music events of the entire year? Not to mention one that her family has also been attending for like over a decade at this point. I would say it's basically a rite of passage for the Kardashian Jenner clan. I really love the neon blue hair. It's very King Kylie, and I think it's so fun that all of her friends have a different color. It's like they're in their own TV show or something. North really loves this sort of pop punk style, and while I personally think that it's better for something like Warped Tour than Coachella, I still have to say that I'm very impressed that she can curate this type of look at such a young age. And yeah, I know it's easier when you have a lot of money, but she still has to have some sort of vision in order to pull this off. I know there's a lot of discourse about North's outfits and how appropriate they are, but to me, I think it's very obvious that she's a kid, and anyone who's going around saying, "Oh, she's dressed way too sexy," is kind of telling on themselves. Like when I was that age, I wasn't dressed that differently, and trust me, I turned out fine. I honestly just think it's really important to let kids express themselves, especially when it's something as personal as clothing. Next is Kendall Jenner. She used to really lean into the boho looks at Coachella, but I guess she's too cool for that now. Considering the tank top and the baseball cap, I kind of wish that she'd gone all in on the sporty vibes, but still, it's not terrible, just casual. Next is Kylie Jenner. Both of the Jenners went in a more minimal direction this year, which I think says a lot about how celebrities are differentiating themselves from the normies who are attending Coachella. They aren't going for super maximalist looks with a theme for the sake of content. They're being a little bit more blasé about the whole thing. Like, oh, I come here all the time. It's not a big deal. Kylie's look is the kind of thing that I would wear to the mall, so it's not really working for me in all honesty, at least not in the context of Coachella. Next is Chloe Cherry. She went in this sort of weird girl candy core direction this year, and I think that the color blocking is a lot of fun. I love the tights, and the fur coat with the sneakers takes it in this sort of 1990s Chloe 70 direction that I think works really well. Next is Barbie Ferreira. Isn't this exactly like something that Gabrielle would wear in Desperate Housewives? It's honestly uncanny. Barbie looks good, but it doesn't really read as Coachella to me. More like I'm grabbing snacks for my kids at Erewhon. Next is Rachel Zoe. For those of you who weren't around in the 2000s, Rachel Zoe is largely responsible for the boho chic look that got popular during that time, with some of her celebrity clients including Nicole Richie, Lindsay Lohan, and Sienna Miller. That look served as the foundation for Coachella style in the early 2010s, and it's definitely made a comeback in recent years. Rachel isn't really a big name anymore, but I see that she hasn't lost her touch, with these looks having a sort of effortless hippie rocker thing going on. The only outfit I don't really like is this white dress. It had potential, but she needed to pare it way down. Like the Chanel bag and the giant glittery platforms just make it feel kind of cheap and tacky. Very Real Housewives. Next is Emma Roberts. Emma is one of the original Coachella girls, but she was never on the mood boards the same way that Vanessa Hudgens was. Her main goal was always comfort with like a dash of trendiness, and I feel like that has definitely carried into 2026. A couple of years back, this could have been a cool outfit, maybe something Devin Lee Carlson would wear, but now it just feels overdone. And I'm just not vibing with how mismatched the tap pants and the hoodie and the rain boots are. Next is Alix Earle. The corset shorts cutoffs combo is a timeless festival look in my opinion, and it actually reminds me a lot of Emma Watson's outfit at Glastonbury years ago that I definitely reblogged on my Tumblr like half a dozen times. I do think that some ripped fishnets could have added even more sex appeal and edge to this, but I'm not gonna complain. Next is Tara Yummy. Again, this is just a classic festival fit. Could you find 100 different girls wearing this exact same thing? Probably, but if it works, it works. I do wish she'd gone with an Alexander McQueen skull scarf, because I feel like that would have been such a fun throwback. Next is Olandria. I might not love all of her red carpet looks, but she definitely knows what she's doing in more casual spaces. The white cowboy outfit is a lot of fun, although I imagine that it was absolutely filthy by the end of the night, but the brown leather look has to be my favorite. I love how it's almost the exact same shade as her skin, so it almost looks like she isn't wearing anything at all, and it's definitely the type of thing that not anybody could pull off. If I were Kimora Lee Simmons, I would be getting her a baby fat sponsorship ASAP. Last is Ryan Destiny. I like the bikini under the button down. It's a fun contrast of sexy and structured, and I like that the sash is tied more like a belt instead of that asymmetric thing that's been trendy lately, which I personally just feel like never looks good. Well, that's it for this week's Coachella looks. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit disappointed. I feel like nobody really went for it, and while on the plus side that means that nobody looked terrible, it also isn't very memorable. But fingers crossed, next weekend will be better. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!